Okay. Bob, we're back in Milton Keynes again for another PHTM.
Yes, we are.
How many
Another
years?
year and lots of fun to have.
And it is good to be back, isn't it, though? Because you walk around and you go, okay, we're still here.
Yeah.
Things are getting better and better, I think, for the customer base. We have more customers every year that we come here.
Yeah.
What has been the big thing for you coming to Milton Keynes this year?
So you joined us there a moment ago for the great debate, and that was the title of it was "What can dispatch tech companies do better to help taxi companies compete with ride-hail companies?"
Are they doing enough? Was the
Are
question.
they doing enough? Actually, yeah. And of course, my argument would be we are trying our very best, and we feel we're doing enough, but. We've got a key strategy rolling out for 2025 around our new exchange, and maybe you could say a piece about that.
Well, I think actually I was quite excited by the debate because we had 4 DMS providers sitting on a panel discussion there, and it's not really that often that we all sit next to our competitors to have that kind of discussion, and it was quite varied, the different opinions, but obviously the core theme was taxi versus ride-hail, essentially, right?
Yeah.
Taxi needs to push ride-hail out or unite together against ride-hail, which is exactly what we're doing with the exchange. We have up to 60,000 cars all able to share work, not just through dispatch networking, which is, overbooking demand in your local town, send it to the fleet down the road. That's great, a bit of collaboration there always helps. Don't lose your passenger to ride-hail. Yeah. But app networking, which I think you think, and I agree with you, is the more exciting part, and also phone call networking, app networking. Talk about that.
For me, the magic is being able to use your local passenger app wherever you go, locally, nationally, and eventually globally. So we've got the local and national part coming into play now. And we all know why people use ride-hail apps, because wherever you go, it's the same experience. So being able to use that local taxi app wherever you go is key. Now, what we've discovered is there's other competing dispatch tech companies who are coming up with a similar strategy or a similar message, but they're completely different to ours and actually in conflict with what we're trying to achieve.
So this was kind of the hard position put to you at the panel there. This was the bit where we were like, ooh, what's Bob going to say to this next? But essentially we have Core who have launched their Super Yes network, which is obviously a smaller network than iCabbi's, but they have been doing a lovely soft merge job in London for a long time. Now they're trying to recruit fleets from any DMS to use their network. Having looked at it myself, the functionality isn't there in terms of the automation, the API integration, being able to scan for available drivers, being able to retrieve information like fare estimates and real-time ETA. So it's not quite the same thing, is it?
I actually don't understand how a network can operate without having all of the key pertinent information. So if you don't know where vehicles are, whether they're available or not, or so on, you're simply compounding the problem by putting trips into somebody's system. So if you drop a trip into someone's system or ask them to do it and they can't, what happens to the passenger? I think whereas with our own network, everything's joined up, all of the data and the information is there, and it means that passengers can book taxis wherever they go. Or not, but they'll have all that information to hand.
Yeah, so the sharing can happen locally and nationally, and it's consistent in terms of the ETA ecosystem being used and the types of information that goes back and forth between passengers and drivers and operators.
Yeah.
So I think really the question that was put to you was DMS should all come together and unite into one network, and I think you were quite firm in that, but what's your position there?
Look, I don't agree. I think the big challenge in our industry is about efficiency. It's about reducing dead miles, no-shows, cancellations, and ensuring drivers are doing more trips in a more efficient way. That means more passengers are serviced and so on. And since we've introduced Google Fleet Engine, you can see that our no-show rates are dropping, cancellations are dropping, paid miles are increasing and so on. So I don't think bunching a load of inefficient networks together is the way to go. I think improving the efficiency within the networks that we have is the right way to go.
Delivering the real impact there. I don't have it to hand, but I think when you look at the material impact of reducing no-shows and cancellations over the past year, it's resulting in something like a £286 saving per driver per year. So you add that up, multiply it within your fleet, it's a real, it really points to the value of the R&D work that we're doing. Now, one thing that came up in the great debate was, are DMS providers doing enough? Are they investing enough in R&D? And I think Zaffa from AutoCab said most DMSs are investing about 1 to 2% per annum in R&D. That's not the case at iCabbi, is it, Bob?
No, I think last year we invested 25%, 26%. of our net revenues back into R&D and back into helping our taxi company customers do better. So we're building tools, we're building features and functionality, and as I said, huge part of that is around the Google Fleet Engine side of things, and that's really where the power from our AI inside sort of model takes.
And for me, Google Fleet Engine is what allows us to give a parity of on-demand experience with the ride-hail provider, so you can behave like a ride-hail operator if you want to, using our apps, our driver app, our passenger app, and applying things like our ride-hail pricing algorithm and using the real-time ecosystem. But you don't have to behave like a ride-hail provider either. Like, you can look at taxi strategies and what is different to ride-hail that taxi can provide that Uber, Lyft both can't.
I think that's probably the key thing. We don't want to emulate ride-hail because there are differentiators. The taxi industry is a local, community-driven business, and I think for me, taxi and private hire companies should be doubling down on that, but using the tools, the technology and everything else that we give them to maximise that.
Yeah. And turn it on and off at different times.
Yeah, exactly. But focus on your strengths and utilise the other parts, the ride-hail parts, when you want.
Yeah, and there's lots of advantages that taxi has over ride-hail. Uber doesn't sponsor the local football team, and you can't call ride-hail, and that's a big chunk of the booking automation that we see coming into our system is call automation, and I don't think it's something that we should be trying to run away from. We should actually embrace that, which we're obviously doing with the launch of Voice AI.
Yeah, and sorry, if we just think about it, taxi companies are often family owned and driven. They're part of their community, they have a network, they've often kids gone to school in the area. As you said, involved in local sporting teams and so on. They are part of the heart of the community, and I think that's where the real value is. Long may that last.
It was a great debate, it really was. And fair play to Rachel, she did a great job, not just in moderating it today, but in setting it up, because she'd clearly spoken to everyone about it. She knew exactly what people wanted to say or who was going to argue with things, so well done to Rachel. I think the great debate is going to continue, and I would welcome anyone who wants to add a comment who was in the audience today to add it to this video.
Yeah, that'd be great. Please do send in your comments and questions. And if you have any questions about why we've chosen specific strategy and so on, please do send them in.
See you soon.